Good evening. Prior to us coming back to order, I'd like to refer anybody who needs translator services to Ms. Valbuena at the podium.
Thank you, President West. Buenas noches, habla Paula Valbuena. Si necesita servicios de interpretación al español, por favor llame al 1805-324-7680 e ingrese el código de acceso 131982-299 más la tecla numeral. Este es un número totalmente gratis. Nuevamente, llame al número de teléfono 1805-324-7680 e ingrese el código de acceso 131982-299 más la tecla numeral. También puede acceder a estas instrucciones en nuestro sitio web mcs4kids.com dirigiéndose a la parte inferior de la página en Quick Links y haciendo clic en Board Agendas para ir a la agenda de esta noche, o si no, estaré sentada en la parte de atrás para quien necesite servicio. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Ms. Valbuena. Welcome to the Modesto City Schools 1468th regular board meeting of November 8th, 2021. This meeting is now called to order. In closed session, no action was taken by the board. We will begin tonight by taking roll call of the board members. Trustee Marks will be participating with us virtually this evening. Trustee Brown?
I'm here.
Thank you. Trustee Irvin will not be with us this evening. Trustee Maestas?
Present.
Thank you. Trustee Marks via Teams. Trustee Mejia?
Present.
Thank you. Vice President Lopez?
Present.
Thank you. President West is here, and our student representative, Banaka?
Present.
Thank you. We will begin tonight with a moment of silence. Please stand with me. Thank you. You may be seated. Good evening, everyone. This open session meeting of the Board of Trustees is being live streamed at the direction of the board. The live stream is available on the district's website, and recordings will be available for viewing the day after the board meeting. Modesto City School board meetings have been adjusted to follow health and safety precautions until further notice. Regarding our public comment, Modesto City Schools has provided an opportunity for the public to provide comments. It is outlined in the agenda. The public has been given an opportunity to call in and leave a voicemail, send us a comment via email, or appear in person before the board. Any public comments received via email or voicemail prior to noon the day of the board meeting will not be read aloud, but they have been transcribed and printed with copies available to each board member prior to the start of the board meeting. They are also available to the public. The voice and email public comments will be attached to future board meeting minutes for approval. This practice will continue until further notice. For members of the public that are interested in commenting in the future, we welcome your comments. If you do wish to address the board during the period for public comment on a subject which is not on the agenda, you must complete a public presentation request card, such as this, and submit it to the board president prior to the period for public presentation and public comment. If you need assistance from our translator, please indicate so on your request card. Each person who wishes to address the board should fill out a card, and you will find the cards in the lobby. You can hand your comment card to Ms. Chambers. Ms. Chambers, please wave your hand. Thank you. If you plan to speak on a topic, please fill out a card now, as no cards will be accepted after the period for public comment has begun. The maximum time for any one speaker is 3 minutes, for a total of 30 minutes. Thank you. We are pleased now to move on to the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have 2 students from Enslin Elementary School to lead us in the flag salute tonight. When I call your name, please raise your hand. Miss Paige Baker? Thank you. Sixth grader Paige is the Student Council President of Ensland Elementary School. She is a natural leader and helpful to her peers. Paige works hard in all academic areas and likes to be challenged in math. She enjoys reading, writing, and tumbling in her free time. Following college, Paige would like to be an author or a teacher. The next student who will be leading us is Ryder Gray. Ryder, thank you. Ryder is also a sixth grader and a member of the Traffic Safety Patrol. He comes to school every day with a can-do attitude. Ryder is involved with school activities and does not let setbacks discourage him. He is always willing to help his classmates. Following graduation, Ryder would like to be a mechanic for Tesla. Students, would you please stand and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the posting of colors? Thank you, students. We're going to have you come up. We have some certificates for you and a picture opportunity. It's sometimes difficult for those students to come up. It's a little intimidating, so I'm really pleased that they were here and able to do that. So we're going to begin tonight with A5, and this is our Superintendent Noguchi. Welcome and announcements.
Thank you, President West. Good evening, and thank everyone for coming out tonight, and for those that are tuning in virtually, and Trustee Marks for joining us across Teams. Very excited about tonight's presentations. We have two. One is the work that we've done with our professional development this year, which we know is a very strong vision of mine relative to building the capacity of ourselves and others, so we can look back in 3 or 4 years and really be a much stronger district relative to our teaching practices and our professional skills. I'm especially excited about the presentation that Dr. Nelson will be doing on grading task force, equity, and excellence. We recognize that this is a long project. It starts this year. This year we really will be learning. There's 66 educators, teachers and educators, administrators, looking at and exploring ways in which we can provide feedback to our students, and also look for different ways of identifying what students know and are able to do. When we talk about, as a board and a governance team, about really ensuring that we have equitable practices, both in what we do and in the policies that we have, this is a great start to that, because if we can really look at how we grade and how we support kids in feedback in their learning, certainly this is one step forward to the vision that we have around equity. Additionally, I know most of you have heard that COVID-19 vaccinations is now available for ages 5 through 11. I want to really point out that this is not a requirement. However, for those parents that are interested in getting their students vaccinated, we will be working with public health in ensuring that parents have the opportunity for vaccinations in the future. Again, it's not a requirement, but we want to work with parents for those that are interested in doing so. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, President West. Thank you.
Thank you. Item A6 is the Board of Education member reports. Do we have any reports this evening? Vice President Lopez?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to report back the last couple of weeks. I've been very fortunate to have been out and about in our district. So I want to give a big shout out to all the staff and all the students out at Kirshen. I was able to go see some of the amazing work they were doing on a Friday afternoon right before Halloween, which was impressive. I thought, it was party time, but no, they were learning their math. They were doing their readings and incorporating Halloween into the lesson plan. So that was very fun to see. I was also out at Marshall Elementary. Got to see some of the work and collaboration that our teachers are doing. Friday afternoon as well, I joined our English Learner department and our PD department. Got to tour the building and see all the amazing work that they're doing. And you'll see it later on in our presentation. But it was fun to meet a lot of the staff out there again on the Friday before Halloween. So everything, there was a lot of candy to go around. But most importantly, the work that they're doing. I also want to give a shout out to the parents that just graduated from PICE, the Parent Institute for Quality Education, which is a program that helps parents learn more about our school district, learn more about the school system and how they can better guide their students to a very fruitful education and hopefully guide them through college, right? Giving them the tools so that they can help them maneuver hopefully their way through the university and be part of our working force, right? So I got to be part of their graduation, talk to them a little bit, and it was awesome to see so many parents, interested in their parents and their students' education. So that's my report.
Thank you. Trustee Brown?
Yes, I attended this past week, a meeting of the County School Boards Association, and want to report to the board that it appears that we will have our county dinner for school board members throughout the county in April. So that date will be floated, and we'll be seeing that soon. We've been talking about who would be representing us with as a speaker that evening. Also, we've been looking at issues throughout the county and trying to redefine the purpose of that association and how we can more effectively serve the boards and districts and especially the students within our county.
Thank you. See no lights. Trustee Marks?
Thank you. Yes, I have a report. I just wanted to say that I attended the San Joaquin area delegate assembly meeting last week, and in it we learned some interesting things from some of the other board members, some of the struggles that they're having. One was that they're having a difficult time finding bus drivers and diesel mechanics. So that was just something that's affecting their district in a serious way. And then another district is having some concerns from parents about a late start, the late start that the legislature has told us that we have to start next year, and how that's affecting their sports and what they're going to be doing on a regular basis to try to manage how to do that. And then lastly, I attended the Parents Leading Change, formerly Dr. Parker Committee, and we had a special meeting at Modesto High School for the parents to learn about financial aid for their students, to be able to apply for that and have access to that for next year. And it was a great meeting. One of our district employees, new employee, Fallon Ferris, she facilitated it, and then President Jocelyn Cooper also had some great information to add, along with the professor that was giving us some financial aid advice. And so it was a great meeting, and I wasn't able to attend the evening one, but we're looking forward to having more meetings with parents at different sites, and Modesto High Library seemed like a really good one for parents to come to. So thank you for allowing me to share my report.
Thank you, Trustee Marks. Trustee Maestas?
Thank you. So just like Vice President Lopez. I would also like to congratulate those parents in the PK program. Tomorrow, I get the opportunity to speak with them at their graduation, so I'm looking forward to that. And I just want to take the time to congratulate all of our Modesto City Schools athletes that played really great this season. I know that they missed a lot of athletics last year because of the situation that went on, and they had the opportunity to play to play this fall. And we had quite a few teams go to postseason that haven't gone in the past. So it was great seeing them at the news at night, looking at the postseason scores, and to all those student athletes that are still in the postseason, go get them. You know, do your best, and congratulations for a hard-fought fall.
Thank you. Trustee Brown, you wanted to add something?
I did. I had intended to bring my big red bucket tonight, but I forgot, and I apologize. Superintendent Noguchi and I are both on the scholars team for the Salvation Army Kettle Kickoff event. This will be a virtual event this year, and there is an opportunity to participate, not like we would love to have down at the convention center downtown, where everybody gets to participate in the money fundraising event where money's falling from the ceiling, and people are stuffing our buckets, and we're all sharing in the effort to raise money for the Salvation Army and their efforts to support families in need in our communities. So with that said, I am just letting you know that both Dr. Noguchi and I have buckets and are willing to take any contributions that anyone would like to make to the Salvation Army. It's really not a competition, it's a shared effort, but we're just part of the bucket running brigade and doing our part to help the community. So.
I'm going to go get the bucket. Have Mr. Herbst go get the bucket.
Trustee Brown, when is that ending?
So the event is the 18th, and so we can make contributions through our buckets right up until that time. And then, so Dr. Noguchi's bucket will be here at the district offices, and mine is available by just contacting me. The dinners or the meals, if anyone would like to participate in the drive-up meal, reservations for those meals need to be made by the 10th, which is this Wednesday.
Thank you. Seeing no other lights, I was able to attend a string concert at Fremont Elementary School. This was for students in grades 4 through 6, and I was amazed at how well the students did. I had flashbacks to children practicing violin, which is not always the most pleasant thing you want to hear, but these kids did a really, really good job, and they sounded wonderful, and you could tell all the adults who were working with them at that school were just so happy to be able to work with the students. So I was really pleased to be able to participate in that. We are moving on now to item A7, and these are our recognitions. So Ms. Fortuna.
Thank you, President West. I'm happy to be here tonight to celebrate our outstanding students and staff. First, we will celebrate a student with outstanding character through our Character Education Recognition Program. So please welcome Burbank Elementary School third grader David Carranza, who is being recognized for the character trait respect. Burbank teacher Aletha Bateman nominated David, and she is here tonight with Vice Principal Samora Malore to share why David is deserving of this recognition. So please welcome them up.
Hi, I'm Aletha Bateman. I'm David's teacher. I've been very privileged to have not only David in my class, but his older siblings as well for different subjects. And his mom is a wonderful worker at our school as well. And this young man, I would see him walking when he was around preschool at our school. And then I was very excited to know that he'd be in my third grade class this year. So at Burbank, we bark proud, and one of our character traits is respect, and that's what I'm honoring him with tonight. He can show all of the character traits in bark proud, but wherever David goes, he treats others, teachers, staff, students with respect. And in the classroom, he is regularly on task, trying his best, even when it's hard. In math time, he'll be one of my last finishers because he's always trying to do every single step he's asked to do. He joins whatever group or team I ask him to join. And outside, the other students are always looking for him. Where's David? Where's David? And he is a role model outside as well. And there's usually a smile behind that mask. So I want to thank him for all of his hard work, his family for all their support and dedication as well. And he is just a wonderful example in our classroom and on our campus for respect. Can we congratulate David?
Next, we will celebrate an employee who goes above and beyond every day for our students and staff through our MCS Hero Recognition Program. So please welcome Johansson High School Activities Director and Leadership Teacher, Rhoda Taylor. Johansson teacher Ann Amador nominated Rhoda, but Ann could not be here tonight, so please welcome Principal Nathan Shar to tell us about Rhoda.
Thank you so much. Ann is coaching mock trial tonight, so she's also going above and beyond, as always. But I did read her statement, and I agree wholeheartedly with everything written, so I'm okay reading it. As the activities director, leadership teacher, and one of the Link Crew advisors at Johansson, Rhoda Taylor has been a shining example of the 2021-2022 MCS goal of building relationships with both students and staff. In just the first few weeks of school, she has already created positive message posters that are displayed all over school. She's provided guidance to the leadership team to create theme display cases in each building. Rhoda has implemented a new Friday Spirit competition to encourage school spirit, as well as start a new Club Member of the Month recognition program. She organized the school's annual Club Fest, which not only was one of the best that we've ever had, but she also encouraged students to create additional new clubs. Excuse me. Rhoda has also been instrumental in establishing our first Friday staff luncheons to encourage staff relationships. She truly exemplifies the type of staff member that is needed at every site during this transition back to in-person learning. Rhoda is creating a new and improved school culture for students and staff at Johansson High School and is very deserving of this recognition.
And that concludes tonight's recognitions. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. It's always nice to see our students and staff recognized for their hard work. All right, we will be moving on to the approval of our consent agenda. So before we begin, do we have any comments from the public regarding our consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda this evening. Moved by Trustee Maestas and seconded by Trustee Mejia. All in favor signify by raising your hand and saying aye. Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you. The next item is A9, which is the approval of the order of discussion or action items. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the order of tonight's discussion action items. Trustee Mejia moves and seconded by Vice President Lopez. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. This is our period now for public presentations. Thank you for attending tonight's meeting and for showing interest in our schools. Tonight, I have 6 cards, and I will ask each speaker to come to the podium and address the board. You will each have 3 minutes to speak. The first person tonight will be George Martinez or Jorge Martinez. Thank you.
Can I bring this down? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I guess I can get started now, right?
Sure, of course.
I would like to thank the Board of Education for your time and consideration on my request. My name is Jorge Martinez, brother of Jaime Martinez, who recently passed away, October 5th, 2021. He was employed at the Modesto City Schools for over 32 years, and of those 32 years, 28 were spent at La Loma Junior High as head management custodian, head custodian. La Loma Junior High has recently gone through a major renovation this year, and it looks great. I wish my brother Jaime would have lived to witness the changes. Jaime was present during the renovation, and I stand before you to request a final addition to the school, a school name change to Jaime G. Martinez Junior High. This humble petition may sound ludicrous. However, I urge you to hear me out. I've researched the criteria and process for renaming or naming an educational institute. Reason number 1 is to be an honorable person, one who has contributed to the process of education. Number 2 is one who has contributed to our community. And number 3 is one who has been an inspiration to others to find their purpose in life and achieve their dreams. My brother was committed to his job and dedicated to his school family. He was a popular, gregarious man, caring, loving, and funny, inspirational, and hardworking, are only some of the many great attributes Jaime possessed. Feel free to ask those who had the opportunity to have known him personally, especially Jaime's bosses. 3 honorable men that he talked often about, that they were good people, good bosses. Bosses like Tim Zerly, Roger Orth, and Mike Henderson, as well as the La Loma Junior High staff. I'm making this request because in the 50 years that I've lived in Modesto, I have yet to see a school named after a Hispanic or Latino man or woman. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. In a diverse city of Modesto of over 40% Hispanics and nearly 49% in Stanislaus County alone. And this is sad. It's pleasant to know that Ceres did the honorable thing 20 years ago in naming their new junior high school after Cesar Chavez, an honorable man that's highly respected. Just one more line. And to understand this, that we've lived here in this wonderful city, and yet there's lacking representation for our Hispanic community. It is sad. And I'm bringing it to your attention because I think we are in a process of change in many school districts. We're talking about building bridges. We're talking about coming together and being one and not being many of different backgrounds, but yet united together as one. I could say more, but I'm out of time. Am I out of time? Yeah, I'm out of time. But thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. I know it's valuable, and thank you for the hard work you've been doing. It's greatly appreciated and admired. Thank you.
Mr. Martinez, thank you, and please accept our condolences. We are so sorry for your loss. Vanessa De Leon.
Hi, good morning. I'm not too sure if you guys remember me. I'm from Davis High School. I did the Health Academy speech out when we did the ribbon cutting. But today I'd like to speak on what happened with my school because I had went to my staff members letting them know that there was an issue going on with the conflict with another student, and I was getting threats and harassed, and I asked for help, and I continued asking for help from them, but I never received it from them. I've been known to be such a great student at that school. I strive to be my best. I do my best for the Health Academy. I have the brightest future I dream of, and I was never provided the help I asked for. Without the safety that I was asking for, I got attacked in the bathroom by another student, and it was horrible. I was devastated, and I still am till this day. And as I fought to get out of the bathroom and I ran out, I called my mother and I told her, what do? I've just been attacked. And she told me to call 911. She said, call 911, let them know. And as soon as I called them, a staff member grabbed my phone from my hand and disconnected my phone when I was asking for help. I was injured. I had 3 different head injuries. I had bruises all over me. Had my glasses taken, my jewelry. It was traumatizing having to sit in the office and knowing that every student was seeing what happened to me in the bathroom. And I've still been trying to handle it, but the school is saying it's my fault, saying that it's because I was pursuing her even though I was simply just using the restroom. And it's sad that I have to sit here and know that I got suspended just as much as she did. She got suspended 3 days and so was I. I got punished for being attacked, and it's not acceptable for me, and it's traumatizing, and it follows me till this day. And I got put on probation, and I'm very serious about my CNA class. It's the light of my life right now. I'm so pursuing it because I can't wait to be able to help out when I'm graduated. And I got put on probation because of this fight, and it's affecting me. It's really upsetting, and I don't know why I'm being punished for another student attacking me, but it's horrible. And the staff not believing me and the staff not helping me when I was asking for help continuously, and they never did. They even told my parents that I was going to be safe and everything, and I was never safe. And it got to the point where I had to take legal action and get a restraining order against the student. Knowing that she's walking around and that she's 2 doors down from my 3rd period classes is hard. But I thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have someone follow up on this, please? Thank you. Frank Johnson?
Good evening, Board. Frank Johnson, acronym NAAAP, National Association for the Advancement of All People, President. I'm here on behalf of De Leon. She called a month and a half ago to my office and complained about being threatened. I told her to follow protocol, go to the administration and complain. it fell on deaf, but I like to use the term dead ears, because nothing was done to protect her. As this child stood up here and said that her grandmother was called and told that the child would be safe. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. An investigation right after the incident accused her of throwing the first punch. But when I reviewed the video, which the person who did the video, as far as I know, was never even punished. And this video came out of a girl's bathroom. A week later, another fight occurred in the same bathroom. I don't know what's going on over at Davis, but I've just collected an entire history of violence at that school. Now, it's one thing to be a victim, but it's something else to be punished as well as being a victim. This is uncalled for. Dillion has met mayors, council members. She's met each one of you. She's worked with our health organization since she was 12 years old. I'm not going to rest until this is over. Her suspension should be lifted. Her probation should be lifted. She doesn't need to be drugged on into anything other than respect, because she followed protocol, and I'm a witness to that. I heard that someone on staff said, well, we don't have any record of her coming to the office. Well, who called the parent and said she'll be safe? The other issue is, if you have no record of it, why is it that you know all about it? Now, harassment. She goes to school, her friends are being questioned, an investigation, staff is being questioned. Why the harassment? Why is it on her? Thank you. It's got to stop.
Thank you. Devin Costa Corgit.
Hello, my name is Devin Costa Cargill, and I'm here with our booster secretary, Jenny Reese. We represent Johansson Sports Booster Club. I did provide a written proposal to our principal, Nathan Shar, at his request. I'm not sure if he was able to present it to the board or not. But we're here because we're requesting some assistance with a tricky situation. The booster club nearly dissolved during COVID due to lack of parent participation. And during that period, the previous board closed the checking account for the boosters, which is a nonprofit school-connected organization, and they deposited the funds into the sports ASB subaccount, which is a violation of AR 1230, which is the administrative regulations of Modesto City Schools for school-connected organizations. And so we have requested that the board review this situation for a possible refund of these funds back into the booster hands. And so do you need a copy of the paper proposal, or do you have that in your possession? Was that presented by Mr. Shar? You did. Thank you. And so I just want to end by saying that the booster organization is vital to the culture at Johansson, as I'm sure you are aware of other schools and organizations as well. But we provide important pieces of uniforms for students, for student athletes, things that the school is not legally able to provide. And we enrich the culture not only of athletics, but we're working towards a foundation with ag and band boosters to create something that's on a much larger scale that will bring the school together. And we would like to not have to start from scratch. We'd like to be able to reacquire the funds that our predecessors had saved and worked for, and we'd like to reacquire those to resume our club. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Godot, you'll be taking care of that. Thank you. Felipe Esparza Davalos?
Sorry, I'm a little taller. Good afternoon, board members. I am in front of you uncomfortably unprepared for what I'm going to ask you for, but I did feel a need to show up and represent myself and some of my colleagues this afternoon. And I do apologize if I'm doing anything out of order or decorum of the board. Like I said, I don't feel like I'm prepared for this, but I feel like we did need to be here tonight. And it's in regards to item B9 that's on the docket today. We did receive an email after work hours this past Friday. Most of us unaware of what was going on.
Excuse me, I apologize. I believe we're going to have you speak when we get to B9.
Okay.
It was my fault for calling you up, so I apologize. Can you just wait and we'll have you come up and speak when we're on that item?
Understood.
Thank you so much. Aaron Aguiano?
Good evening, Honorable Board and Administration. Today I'm here, although it may be a little bit related to equitable grading, but I wanted to talk about homework, especially about the last time that I was here before you. I had to remember to breathe. Because my son's grades are up and down crazy, and then I don't think my son is crazy. I think the school is the one that is crazy, or the teachers, I don't know. But anyways, I want to bring the problem to you because it's a problem. And it's a big problem to us as a family, when you get all upset and you go over there and talk to the teacher and the principal and whoever, and then they demonize your child and it's his fault, and then you look stupid for being there, and then you go home all pissed off because you hate everybody and everybody in the school too. And then I come to you, and then many times, we feel as Latinos come to you and we throw tantrums and upset and get you upset, and then nothing gets done. Well, I think that we may have to change our tactics or something, but really, I like to see a board that wants to change things, that is willing and committed to it and to address problems whenever they come. And so right now, I understand there's going to be some equitable grading coming up. But the thing is that we can't wait years and years when the days count. And so for my son, by the time he graduates, then equitable grading will start, but I think that in the meantime, some baby steps should be taken, like let's put some rules on homework or on grading or have pilot programs, something that can be done in between, because it's like he's playing a game where there's 7 different rules for the same game. So when you have 7 teachers or 6 teachers or 5 teachers, the minimum, there's different rules on homework, and you're talking about a 13-year-old with a whole bunch of rules, with hormones and crazy things, and being bombarded by, the world and everything. So I think that something should be done in between that can help Latino children and Black children. And remember that Latino children are 67% or 68 or whatever they are, they're the majority of the students. And I think that we trust you with our kids and that you're going to do a good job. You, the administration, the teachers, and we want to feel that we trust you in the, in the community, that we're informed, that we trust you, that you don't hide anything, that you provide us what we ask for, that you answer questions when you ask, because we really, love our children. We want them to do the best. We want them to go to good programs and the IB program and play the meritocracy game, but not to exclude them. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Again, we'd just like to remind you that we cannot engage in any discussion or take any formal action on items that aren't on the agenda. We do thank you for following the protocol. We thank you for taking your time out tonight to come share your concerns and your views with us this evening. We're moving on now to item B1, which is our student representative to the board report. Representative Banaka, do you have any report to make at this time?
Yeah, well, first of all, good evening, everyone. I hope you guys are all having a great day. Just a little warning, this report might be a little lengthy, so please just bear with me. So last week at the Inter-High meeting, schools reported on a variety of projects like successful homecomings, their preparations for holiday festivities, and how they're going to engage students moving forward, and also some of the charity-based fundraisers that they're working on. Speaking of fundraisers, we discussed our Inter-High Service Project, which is going to be a competitive fundraiser between schools to raise money for chemo crew. And we decided that we would begin the project in early 2022. We know that people are pretty busy right now. We know that people have a lot on their plates, and we don't want to add to that, and we also don't want to risk the success of our fundraiser by rushing it. Also at this meeting, we unanimously voted to approve the revisions that we made to AR 6145.1, which regulates the Inter-High membership. This revision would allow for non-ASB students to join the council, and we're really excited about this because we think it'll help increase the diversity of perspectives at our meetings. And then finally, we had 2 discussion items. The first discussion was a discussion in which we gave which students gave input on some of the good instructional practices that they appreciate seeing in the classroom. And almost all of these practices had to do with building empathy in the classroom, which of course we know is really important, as this is something that Dr. Aquanafua really emphasized at our last board meeting. So students said that they appreciate when teachers ask about their weekends, when they give students extra work time during busy or particularly stressful weeks, and when teachers have fun review games to go over some of the material. One practice that I thought was particularly interesting was giving students a break in class to go on a short walk. I'd love to go on a walk during my class, so I thought that was interesting and fun. And then after that discussion, we talked about the ways that teachers can empower students in the classroom to ensure that they feel like they have a voice. And of course, this is yet another suggestion that was highlighted by Dr. Aquanafua's research. So students suggested having teachers do a lesson on which they teach about listening to their peers, creating ways for quieter and shyer students to be heard. For example, one student suggested creating a box where students can drop in suggestions on papers or sticky notes, or even a more modern way of addressing this would be having surveys in the classroom so that students can provide input or ask questions that they were maybe too afraid to ask in class. We also suggested random calling on students to get more voices in the room, not just the most dominant voices in the conversation. In other news, last week, the State Board of Education also held their November meeting. And boy, if you think our MCS board meetings are long, you're in for a ride if you ever experience a state board meeting. This last board meeting was about 14 hours long, so I will try my best to condense this as much as possible and just give you guys the highlights. So going back to the Lcap revisions that we discussed at our last state board meeting, there were some changes made to the Lcap template that were results of changes in the education code that were made by recently passed bills. So this included the one-time supplement template to the annual update to the 2021 to 2022 Lcap, and also the requirement for LEAs with consistently low-performing student groups or low-performing schools to write a goal in their Lcap, which addresses those disparities. As per our recommendations from the last board meeting, the California Department of Education tried to streamline the template as much as possible and keep it as simple as possible without sacrificing the intent of the document. This was something that I think many board members, including myself, really suggested, because in order to keep students, especially students and parents involved and engaged in the Lcap, it needs to not be daunting and scary. And they also clarified some of the parts of the template that were a bit unclear, such as converting qualitative actions to percentages. That was a big discussion that we had at our prior board meeting. In this item, we also concluded that moving forward, we will all be using the term educational partners instead of stakeholders. And again, just to remind you, this was because the state board received input that the term stakeholder is insensitive towards Indigenous communities as it connotates claiming stake to a land. We also approve the adoption of K-8 instructional materials for arts education and world languages, which districts can choose to incorporate into their curriculum. And then finally, we voted to approve the California Community Schools Partnership Program application process and administration plan. This was a massive investment by the governor, which invests nearly $3 billion into community schools to establish new ones and to improve upon existing community schools. And just to clarify for anyone that doesn't know what a community school is, it's essentially a hub where schools and other community resources can come together and focus not just on academics, but also on health, social services, leadership, community engagement. It's very holistic, and it's really aimed at reducing the disparities that hinder academic success. The initiative is intended to reach all of the schools within the state with more than 80% of students living in poverty. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think our district has some of these schools. I may be wrong. So that might affect us as well. And then finally, I know this has been a long report. Finally, in my role as student board member, I also helped run the annual California Student Advisory Board on Education Conference, which is a statewide conference where students spend their weekend and their Halloween weekend at that, creating proposals to present to the State Board of Education, and it included topics like student wellness, civic engagement, equitable education, and although these proposals were addressed to the state board, they can all be implemented at a district level. So I'll be sending the proposal packet to all of you so that you can all take a look through it and see if there's anything that stands out to you. But other than that, that pretty much concludes my report to the board.
Thank you for your hard work. We appreciate the communication and getting all that information. We're moving on now to B2, which is California School Employees Association report. Is the president or vice president of CSEA present tonight? See none, we will move on to item B3. This is a report on Equity Grading Task Force. Dr. Nelson.
All right. Good evening, Board President West, members of the board, our superintendent, Dr. Noguchi, members of cabinet, and members of our fantastic community. Just a little side note, that wasn't a long report. You did good. Okay. I am here to present to you, first of all, I'm Dr. Will Nelson. I'm here to present to you the first foundational steps we've taken towards really what is there that says at the bottom, the equity and excellence. It's about ensuring rigor, but meeting the individual needs of students, which is the challenge and it is the work. There we go. Oh, and also I've been told there's a slight delay when you're online, just for those watching at home. The purpose of this presentation is to provide you the overview, as I stated, the expectations of the members who are participating on the grading task force, or which you will see being called GTF, and an overview of the professional development, and then our next steps as we move forward. Our strategic goal alignment, besides with our MCS Goal 1 and 2, which is around professional development and instruction and classroom learning and teaching and learning, which is the foundation of work with equity grading. It also aligns with the recommendation from our Equity and Racial Justice Task Force. One of the recommendations, number 5, was to look at this practice and to approve upon it. The purpose of the task force, and I'm going to read to you the first bullet there. It says, as part of the ongoing equity work for MCS, we will build long-term capacity to support learning, effective instruction, and instructional leadership. So as I said, it's very important to understand that when we talk about this, that it's not about changing the bar. It's about where is the rigor, what that looks like, what does that mean, and then how do we help each individual student meet there? And what are the strategies we're going to try, both in and out of the classroom? And then how do we make sure that we're uplifting all kids, which is not easy to do. That is very tough. Underneath there, the other bullets explain to you, like I said earlier, about the Racial Justice Task Force and the recommendation we have from them, and the importance of us having some coaching and support along the way with Dr. Doug Reeves and Creative Leadership Solutions. Dr. Reeves is a well-known, well-published educator, not just someone that you hire and come into the district, but he's also someone that has worked with districts across the country and literally around the world. The Equity Grading Task Force current participants, just so you're aware, and we've only held one meeting so far, so we're just starting the work. We have 16 schools involved, 7 elementary, 4 middle schools, junior highs, and 5 of our high schools. There are 66 teachers, TK-12, and I'll explain why there's just 66 in just a minute, in which 13 of them are primary, 14 are intermediate, 9 are in our middle junior high, 2 are MVA, and that's primarily high school-based MVA teachers, and 28 high school teachers. We have 4 of our curriculum coordinators involved, as well as our 6 directors from different departments, educational services, support, student support services, CIPD as well, and school leadership, which helps facilitate and support the school sites as well as the professional development. The bottom bullet there says there's 18 principals, and you say, well, there's 16 schools involved. This was our first year, and so we were asking teachers to volunteer. We have 2 principals who didn't have a teacher who volunteered, and they still wanted to be a part of the task force. That's why you see there's 18. The expectations, and just so that I am clear with you, is that it's not about just coming and learning. It's really about learning and doing and collaborating and doing again and learning from that and coming back. It's actually what we're calling action research. So the expectation is it's a 3-year focus, and I'll get into the timeline a little bit further into the presentation. With this first year being voluntary, hopefully next year we'll have at least half the schools involved. Eventually, it's all the schools through our PLCs and collaboration and instructional planning, which is some of that work can start now, but it's moving towards that, so it becomes acculturated in our district. It's not just another initiative. As I said, year 1 is voluntary for teachers, so that's why you see the number is where it's at. Teachers will be compensated via our 0.5 or 1.0 incentive program based around equity and our strategic goals, which this initiative aligns. And then all participants will have access to Dr. Reeves. So even though Dr. Reeves is here for certain meetings and then his team helps us on the other ones, they have direct access to him. Some have already reached out to him to help them identify their action research. Continuing on with the expectations that there are 5 after-school meetings. They're 2 hours a pop. These are 2 hours each. I shouldn't say a pop. Forgive me for that. Each of the meetings are more like workshops. And the idea is that, and I'll go over each of the meetings in just a second, is that we're coming back, we're learning, we're trying, we're coming back, we're learning, we're trying, we're collaborating. So the timeline you kind of see there is what has happened really over the last few months in this first report to you. We had an introduction meeting with our principals in which Dr. Reese was here. That was to explain exactly what we were doing, go over the guidelines. And we did this with the principals so that the principals can go back to their school sites and work with teachers. The goal here is to start with the classroom teacher and work up, not to come in with a policy and say, do this, but to move us forward together. We then identified those teachers as well as came up with support for all administrators after seeing that some were interested and others didn't have teachers who volunteered. And I'll get into that in another second. But we identified 5 workshops. So the first one was held on October 18th. And then our next one is actually next week on the 16th, and we'll continue on. And if you haven't noticed, those dates are also in alignment to grading periods, because part of this data that we're going to examine to see how well things are going is actually to look at our report cards. So the first meeting that I was saying was with Dr. Reeves. We did it online as we were bringing the teams together because we weren't sure how many teachers at the time were going to volunteer, how many weren't. And it was really focused around effective feedback and that whole idea of what you see up there is fast. So is the feedback both to students or from administrators to teachers or teacher to teacher to improve instruction? Is it fair? Is it accurate? Is it specific and timely? Because we all know that feedback is very important. Why am I doing what I'm doing? How did I perform? How can I get better? And also building in some reflective practices. Also in this first session we described the action research. This is not they're going to write some long paper or they're going to do some super change. It's literally we're going to look at the instructional pacing guide. The action will be how did we address that? What were our challenges? What were our successes? And then at the end of the year would be what came out of that. What was success of students? Along the way, we're looking at student instructional data, i.e. their grades. So that leads to sessions 2 through 4, which we'll start session 2 next week. So if I'm looking at instructional pacing, and that's what I'm doing as a classroom teacher because I understand the challenges from last year with COVID, many of the students were either in a hybrid or in a learning hub or came to school or all the above, and I'm looking at that as my action research. During these meetings, I will come in and I will be able to collaborate across the district with other teachers to receive feedback, to receive some insights, as well as guidance from our principals as well, who will also participate. Because if their teacher volunteered, it didn't matter if it was 1 teacher or 5 teachers, the principal was a part of it. And then the last session is what I was saying earlier, is think of it as the old school kind of 3-column portfolios. I'm looking at a pacing guide, here's what I did, here was my outcome. So that our teachers are constantly learning and growing as they move forward. And then from this, could we find out or ID changes in policy? Yes. From this, could we ID or find out some good practices that others can learn from? Yes. But it's about our teachers being empowered to do something. And at the very least, that it helped them and their students this year. So here's the timeline I was speaking to earlier. And first, let me start with the top bullet. And this goes back to what I said earlier. Even though we had 18 principals volunteering to be part of a grading task force, what we did was identify another layer of professional development just for our principals so they can give good feedback to their teachers as well as align their work and practices. So the principals, all of them, who are not just on the GTF, they're actually going through workshops on equitable grading practices with Dr. Reese and his team and school leadership. And it's aligned to both their goals for the school site as well as how they can align that work so it's not one more thing, it is the work. So the timeline moves forward with this year being the GTF being formed with volunteers. As I said, in 2022-23 would be expanding it to at least half the schools, incorporating the work into our professional development, into our PLCs, into our collaboration, and our instructional planning. And then by 23-24, our professional learning communities, it is a part of the work. And think of those 4 questions from before. You have what we want our kids to know, how do we know it? Well, it's really those next 2 that is the equity work. What do we do if they know it? What do we do if they don't know it? And that is really the key. And it's not just based around a group that students belong to, but their individual needs as well. And that's the key to all of this. So our superintendent, myself, and cabinet all stand ready for any questions.
Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, we will go to board members who have questions or comments. Looking for lights. Trustee Marks?
Yes, I have a question and a comment. I've received some phone calls from parents that are concerned about academic rigor and lowering of the standards that we have been working towards. They have concerns about this kind of program or change in our grading system. So I just wanted to find out from you, do you have, because I've tried to explain it to parents, do you have a simple way to explain it at this point of what our goal is and how we're going to do it? Just like a 2-minute, here's where we're headed and here's how we're going to do it. I know that last slide gave you some good stuff, but not quite the detail that parents say when they know that we're changing or possibly changing the grading system they've been used to.
Yes, and here's my elevator speech real quick. We're not changing outcomes. We want them to be rigorous. What we're changing is how we're meeting the needs of individual students, not just the groups they belong to. So if I don't know how...
Say that again, you're changing the what? Say the same
What
thing.
we're changing are the strategies we are using to meet the individual needs of students. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, okay, thank you.
So the outcomes and the rigor has to maintain itself. But the needs of the students in my classroom or multiple classes, if I'm secondary, have to vary. And it should be based on the individual needs of the students to get there. Rather with you can write that essay, you're good to go, so are you receiving good feedback, so you get better. Rather with me, it's hard for me to develop a thesis statement. Doesn't mean I can't write an essay, but it does mean I need some additional support and or different strategies in the classroom to be successful to write the essay, because that's the bar.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Maestas?
Thank you very much for this report. As many of you know, equitable grading is one of my passions, is one of the things that it's one of my passions. And I've done a lot of, research and practices myself in my own classroom. I've got a couple of questions and then some comments. The first question is on the science fair. Will there be any how much of that can be shared with some of us in some of the data that it's collected, either qualitative or quantitative, without being too, because you want to respect you want to respect the what was the word that somebody just said? The process, but also the teachers who do that and their the confidentiality of all of that, right?
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see the data and to see if how the students did and how the teachers also reflected upon that work.
Yeah, and I think we can do that by looking at the actions that were taken by the teacher, but we can leave them out of it. But saying this was my goal, like I said, it's pacing guide. And then here's the strategies that I did over the course of the years, both roadblocks and successes. And then what was the outcome? And then we could look at those teachers who participated, what was the outcome in their grading for their kids as compared to those who didn't. And that will help us at least kind of see. Because what's really important in this work is it's not just about hitting a home run. We're going to strike out a few times, and that's okay because, as you know, during this work, it's part of the learning process. And that's really, really key. It's not going to be, by June, there'll be no more Fs. Every kid will reach a high level of mastery. That's why it has to be acculturated into the work. So I think there's a way we can honor that from our teachers, but also share, because when they come and collaborate, we also want them to see that they are like-minded. And a principal example is popping in my head. I have several principals who are working on goals about helping their parents be more proactive or help their parents understand how to be proactive on their campus to help their scholar. Well, at the elementary level, there's a principal that's actually looking at helping their parents understand the standard-based report card. And what does that look like? Rather than at the high school example, maybe helping them understand how to get into college. But these two principals could collaborate together. So there's ways that we can move forward in this work. That's why it's important to be part of our PLC process and being part of who we are and what we do.
Yeah, and on a side note from that, as a parent, I really appreciate that standards-based report card. It is very clear to me where my son or daughter stands in their learning at any point. You made that statement about where do we want the kids to be, how do we know that they're there, and what do we do when they're not there, right? Those are the questions that we're trying to answer. And it's great for the teacher to be able to analyze that, but it's also important for the parent to understand where their student is. And it's extremely important for the student to know where they are in their learning and what they need to do when they don't understand it. And I think that's what it comes down to in these equitable grading practices, is that these equitable practices help all students achieve high levels of standards and rigor. Those don't change. How we get them there changes.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
And done correctly, we actually decrease inflated grades and we decrease deflated grades. We have a more accurate representation of where all kids are. And so these are especially important for the teacher, the parent, and the student to know where they are on their academic success and understanding of the concepts in their classes. So thank you very much. I look forward to our journey in our district in this.
Yeah. No, thank you for your comments. You're hitting it right on the head. You're exactly right.
Trustee Mejia?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm super excited that it's on paper, that we're taking steps, that we have a plan. All that is really exciting, and I understand that it's a journey, it's a process, and that we're learning the process and taking all that in. So I'm just really excited to see it and see how it's unfolding. And of course, for some folks it will be too slow, for other folks it might be too fast, but I'm just, as a board member, excited to see where this is taking us in a journey, and seeing it on paper, seeing a plan, seeing dates, times, all these things is pretty exciting. And I just want to congratulate the district for us for doing this and for leading this work. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
See no more lights. This was a report. Thank you so much, Dr. Nelson. We'll move on to B4, report on professional development update. Mr. Rich.
Good evening, Board President West, Board of Trustees, Cabinet, Superintendent Noguchi, Cabinet, members of the public. My name is Mike Rich. I'm a Senior Director of Curriculum Instruction and Professional Development. And joining me today is Ms. Maricela Mota and Danielle Nego, who will introduce throughout the presentation. So the purpose of our presentation today, Purpose of our presentation today is to give an update on professional development opportunities to all staff. That includes certificated, classified, and management. We'll also highlight several areas of growth within our division and that we have to support and retain staff. And then finally, we'll follow up with our next steps. The work we engage in daily is pivotal in supporting strategic goals 2 and 5 to not only provide high quality professional development, but also retain and hire the highest quality applicants. First opportunity we're going to talk about for professional development is our annual Professional Development Day. This year it happened on Monday, October 11th. So during that day, we started with an address to all staff by our superintendent. Then certificated staff and site-based management teams worked in small collaborative groups to engage in discussion around a course offered by our partner Epic Education called Contemporary Barriers to Student Success. Classified staff were given an opportunity to participate in several course offerings, and we'll hear a little bit more about that as we further on in this presentation. Certificated subs were also participated with targeted PD to help them prepare for the realities of the current classroom. And for the majority of the day, certificated staff participated in training to help support students as they are on quarantine. At the end of the day, we offered a survey, and about 900 staff members took that survey. And we're pleased to share out that 93% of staff reported that the equity workshop met or exceeded their expectations, and 97% reported that the afternoon workshops met or exceeded their expectations for the needs to successfully engage in the short-term independent study process. Next, we'd like to focus on some of the PD to highlight it that the district is doing around equity and access. So all staff have access, again, classified, management, and certificated, have access to 19 EPIC self-paced courses. We'll see a few of them here in a second. They also have an opportunity to dive deeper into equity through the EPIC Mastery Cohorts classes. As you just heard from Dr. Nelson, Ed Services Division is working with over 60 volunteer teachers as they explore equitable grading practices with Dr. Doug Reeves, and we're excited to be a part of that with them. And as well as other opportunities include site equity teams, equity audit training, and community outreach. Here's a list of some of the 19 EPIC courses that we have available. Some of the most popular courses include Compassionate Dialogue, Cultivating Cultural Competency, and more. These are, again, are all self-paced for all of our staff in the PD catalog. We have a new member to our team, Mr. Ernesto Calderon, Administrator of Special Projects, Induction Programs. Unfortunately, he could not be here. He could not be with us tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and present his portion for him. Induction is a requirement to clear a teacher's preliminary credential. MCS wants to ensure that our induction programs increase the retention rate of highly qualified educators. Induction supports new teachers and administrators through mentorships and professional development while training in the Modesto City Schools way, thus supporting the efforts to make us a destination district. When a teacher is hired, a new teacher is hired to Modesto City Schools, they will generally fall into two categories. Either they are a teacher that qualified for induction, or they qualify as an intern. The difference between the two is that a teacher that qualifies for induction holds a preliminary credential already. This means that they have already completed all of their required coursework through their college or their university. A teacher that participates in induction uses the California standards for the teaching profession to set goals, to reflect on those goals, as well as their teaching practices, and to participate in ongoing professional development. Intern teachers, however, do not qualify for induction, as they are still working to attain their preliminary credential. Interns get the majority of their professional learning from their college or university program. Modesto City Schools partners with both interns and induction candidates. We partner them with an experienced mentor teacher to help them along the way. This chart shows a 3-year comparison of teachers that have participated in our induction and intern programs. It is noteworthy to point out that we have a 32% increase in those teachers supported through both the induction and the intern mentor program. This one we're really excited about. We now house our very own administrator induction program. Through the rigorous certification process and the board's support, we are now the only school in Stanislaus County accredited by the state to offer this amazing resource to our employees. Participating in a non-MCS induction program usually costs around $7,000. We offer this service at no cost to our employees, giving us the opportunity to retain highly qualified administrator candidates. Again, making us a destination district. Next, I'd like to highlight some of the work we are doing with our 0.5 PD initiative. We're grateful to the board for your support, for your recent approval of the 0.5 initiatives. This year, there's 2 of them. This is a high leverage strategy to increase the capacity of all those who participate. We hope to, so this year, we're excited to offer this to our certificated and our management bargaining groups, and we hope to extend this benefit to our classified groups through the negotiation process. This year, we're offering those 2 different 0.5 initiatives. The first one is the same as years past. The staff completes a minimum of 6 hours of PD centered around the MCS strategic goals. New this year is a second 0.5 opportunity for a sum of 1% for participating groups to take up to 6 hours of PD centered on equity and access opportunities. To date, between both initiatives, we have over 3,300 hours completed and almost 700 of our employees participating. Next in our PD department, we'd like to talk about coaching. This is for certificated teachers in the classroom. Our original plan for coaching this year has been adjusted due to the lack of sufficient substitute coverage, something that's a concern for most schools around the entire state. Our K-6 math teachers receive monthly coaching focused on student outcomes and lesson design. This coaching happens on their school site and includes demo lessons and collaborative data conversations. K-6 ELA coaching is focused on reading foundational skills and fluency that are imperative for future success, as well as student data analysis to help prioritize and differentiate learning. Coaching in the secondary world focuses on reviewing student data and adjusting instruction to best meet the students' needs. This coaching takes place mostly after school, during collaboration days, or through the Math Ambassadors program. I'd like to now introduce Mr. Daniel Nago, our Coordinator of Classified Professional Development.
Good evening. Thanks, Mr. Rich. My name is Daniel Nago. I am the coordinator for the Classified Professional Development. And this year we have worked with the CSCA partners to create an MOU that allows us for classified staff to earn time and a half compensation for the PD taken after their duty hours. As Mr. Rich did say, that classified staff had the opportunity to participate on the October 11th PD Day. We had 185 classified staff members attend. We came about this with meeting division leaders and talking with them and asking them what they wanted their people to partake of that day, and we came up with 2 buckets. One bucket was communication, and the other was a better understanding of the positive behaviors intervention and supports known as PBIS for all. We created and facilitated the PBIS opportunity. We had an outside company facilitate the communications PD. We ran this day like a conference style with some PDs going on at the same time and repeating several times. This created many different options for our classified staff members. And the time and a half PD, we have done and ran some reports here. And as of October 22nd, 241 classified staff members have completed up to a total of 750 hours. What we are working closely with HR on a monthly orientation. We're looking at starting a first meeting on November 30th. This is for new hires of classified staff to our district. So beyond the basic enrollment forms and HR items that they cover, we will be covering items such as Equity Task Force, Destination District, the PD Catalog, and who to go to for help will be covered during these meetings. And now I'll hand it over to Ms. Maricela Mota.
Thank you, Mr. Nego. Ready? Okay. So as a reminder, this year we have teachers participating in the Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol, which is known as SIOP. SIOP is a research-based instructional model that specifically addresses the academic needs of English learners. SIOP provides a framework for teachers to design and deliver lessons that make content comprehensible. Again, focused on the rigor still, but making for English learners to have access to the classroom. This year we have some ELD, social science, and science teachers participating in not only monthly SIOP professional development, but as well as in classroom coaching. In addition to that, we also provide professional development for English language development teachers at the 7-12 level. They have monthly after-school professional development. During these meetings, we have reviewed the current reclassification criteria, how to read the LPAC scores so that they can help their students goal set, and then dive deep into the LPAC test types. They have their English learners specifically in English language development, and this helps them understand the summative LPAC better so that the students could do better on the assessment. And then what I mean by diving deep is reviewing the specific questions that students will be asked in listening, speaking, reading, and writing, because it changes from year to year depending on the ELD standards. And then we will also review the summative LPAC schedule, summative LPAC rates, and then discuss anything at the end of the year to focus on the 22-23 in the English learner information. So in addition to that, our team has also been working on developing classes for English learner parents. This is something we wanted to contribute to our community this year, specifically for English learner parents. We have supported parents with not only enrollment, PowerSchool, and Schoology. We know Matey's team does this, but we also have a lot of English learner parents that come to us, so we want to service them as well. And in addition, we have added Rosetta Stone classes for students that, for parents that are probably in ESL classes, but that need that extra support at home to reinforce their English language development. Also, we also teamed up with Matey's team to offer classes in the following topics. Why is my child an English learner? What is LPAC? What is reclassification? And then initial and summative LPAC information. And then also the LPAC matrix. The matrix has information for English learners, students with specific learning needs that may require resources to fully engage and demonstrate mastery of content during the LPAC testing. So it allows, we want to show parents that there is extra support for the summative LPAC, and so that they can voice their concerns or opinions during an IEP meeting if they wish to do so. I will now reintroduce Mr. Rich to conclude our presentation.
Thank you, Maricela. So moving forward, the CIP division will continue to survey staff to identify areas of need and then offer that PD accordingly. In December, our PD committees will convene to give feedback on our current offerings, as well as what direction they would like us to move forward in. We'll continue to monitor the participation of the two 0.5 initiatives, as well as the coaching centered on prioritizing student learning through formative data. And we're also excited to continue to offer our EL parents opportunities for their educational growth. So at this time, we're available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Going out to the public first, do we have any members of the public that wish to speak?
I just have a question. When did professional development started in this district?
So the question specifically, when did professional development start? When? So I would venture to say that my entire 22 years in this district, there's always been opportunities for professional development for teachers and for staff. With the creation of the CIP department, this is our third year in existence. I think the level and quality of professional development that we've been able to offer has increased now that we have a singular focus on that.
I'm very pleased to hear that there's a lot more professional development, and I think it's due to our new superintendent. And the other thing I noticed that schools are providing better service to people. I haven't seen any more secretaries or vice principals yelling at us lately. You know, before I used to complain that the customer service at the school sites was really bad and really upsets people when you feel like you're overpowered and like this is the way it is whether you like it or not and go home. I think that has changed, and I think that's a good job. It reflects on our superintendent and on the board and on the image that we have at the schools. But I think we had to work really hard now on the grading a lot. And I think quicker than it's been done, but I understand you don't just want to do things so fast. But I'm glad that professional development is really taking big importance in this district, and it's going to help the teachers to understand how to treat the children better, how to grade them better, how to understand them. Really, they should learn how to love them too, because if you don't love someone else as a human being and appreciate them, then you don't care what they do, how well they do, and what the future deserves them. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, we'll go to the board for questions or comments. Trustee Brown, then Vice President Lopez, then Trustee Maestas.
Yes, I'm very happy to see the participation level that we're receiving, both from certificated and the classified employees. I'm interested in this time and a half PD initiative for the classified employees, and I'm curious. Many of our classified employees are part-time and doing positions that are just basic employment for first-time jobs for some of them. Are our part-timers also receiving time and a half?
Correct. So any classified staff that's a permanent staff member to our district, whether they're 2, 3, 4, 5 hour staff or 6 or 8 hour, they're all eligible for them to receive the time and a half pay. Yes, sir.
I'm happy to see that, because we really want to help them advance in their careers and rise in their sights for themselves. As we provide that opportunity for them, it's an example for our students that we can, start at basic levels, but grow into greater opportunities. So I appreciate that.
Vice President Lopez.
Yes, thank you, Rich, for the report, and the three of y'all for the report. I did want to ask a question of Ms. Mota, and because one of the things, like I mentioned earlier, the great work that we're doing with our staff and our PD is amazing. But I also wanted to touch on the PD that we're having for parents, right? That's important. Talked about earlier as well with programs like PICE that help parents navigate the school system, right? But having that ability for parents to learn how to navigate their own specific school district, and especially for students that are English learners and parents that are English learners, right? Because you were right. Most likely they are having, they want to improve themselves as individuals so that they can have a more success in their future that will trickle down to their students. So having PD, professional development, for them to an extent, not only to help their students but to help themselves, is a big change, and really making sure that everyone that's in these that's affecting the livelihood of a child and of our students has some growth themselves, right? Which will then help students succeed as well. But I wanted to ask, how big is your program currently, and of parents? And then I know it's probably brand new, so it's probably small. But what are we hoping where we take this PD for parents?
So just, I don't have some of the numbers off the top of my head. I know for enrollment, we've helped 23 families, and then last week we just helped 10 new families, our newest families arriving from Afghanistan. That's one portion of them. And then for school, for Rosetta Stone, we have offered 2 days of classes 3 times a day, so 9, 1, and 3, I believe. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, so I can report back to you on that. And then we're still small, but we have some things in the works. So for example, one of the 2 items that we're going to work on within our department is just reviewing our A through G process for our English learner parents. We think that's important for them to know that. And then because we do fall under the curriculum and instruction program, we are also working on a K-6 ELA and math standards, showing a PD for our parents so they learn how to read the report cards. So they are also partners in that work for us. We're still small, but we're growing.
That's awesome. And I don't know if I made the connection, like, yeah, folks that are learning English, but that we're giving them that extra help is always amazing. So thank you for your work. Thank you for the work that everyone's doing, and I really appreciate it. And I really like seeing this, as mentioned before, the fact that all of our staff has the ability to grow, not only for our district, but for their own well-being, and hopefully they put that into practice in our district. And that's what we want by having a destination district, that we teach them to possibly go anywhere, but to decide to stay here. All right, thanks.
Trustee Maestas?
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is amazing work. A lot of great PD here. I do have one question for you, Ms. Monta here. These ELD professional developments, were these designated ELD, or were they integrated ELD, or were they for both?
They're
types of
designated
teachers?
ELD teachers at the 7-12 level.
They're only for designated?
Right
Do
now.
we know if we have anything for integrated as well?
We did for integrated.
Yeah.
For integrated, we're working on our PSYOP, and then that's also part of our plan with the rest of the CIAPD, because there are English learners in every subject area.
Right. Thank you. That was my ELD question. Other question I had, let's see where I'm, how many, I guess this is for Mr. Rich, how many participated in, do we know how many participated in the equity courses?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can get that for you.
Okay.
Those are self-paced. We do get a high volume of people doing those. They can do those on their own time, at home or wherever, and they're about an hour long each one. So I can pull that information up for you.
Okay, that would be interesting to know. Thank you. I've been around a lot of districts in my career, and I actually have, I don't know how long MCS has been doing this, but I've never heard of a substitute PD on a PD day for the district. I thought that was an incredibly novel idea. That was really good thought.
So this is
been
our
doing that,
second.
or
This is
is-
our second year doing that. We've really we partnered with HR to make that happen, and that almost came out of a necessity during the pandemic on all the new technology that the subs had to learn last year, and so we carried it forward again this year. It's a day when we don't need the subs because it's a non-attendance day for students, so it works really well that we can offer to pay them, and then they can get the training they need. It is pretty well attended by substitutes.
That was amazing. Like, what a great idea. And then I had one more thing. In our next steps, just kind of a thought coming from Dr. O's presentation last meeting. I think there might be a place where we can think about something in terms of empathy. There is a place for growth that we saw in those data, and so something to think about for our district as we grow in some of the data that we've collected over the last couple of years.
That's great feedback. Thank you.
Trustee Mastis, I do want to point out that in addition to the equity work, there's ongoing work with restorative practices, which really tugs to a degree at the empathy piece, as well as trauma-informed practices, which is also an ongoing professional development that's made available to our staff.
Trustee Marks, I don't want to forget you. Did you have anything? No? Okay. Trustee Brown?
As Trustee Lopez was speaking about the PD for English learner parents, something came to mind that I would like to see us focus on. Many of our English learner parents have difficulty in helping their students with the two subject areas that we really need to advance and assist our students with. Is there a possibility that we can offer those parents assistance with basic math skills and also supporting reading learning in their home?
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning earlier. I want to target the K-6 standards because focusing on math and ELA, because once you talk about the standards, it's a different point of view for a parent. The parent needs to know the standards, but not the same as a teacher. They need to know if my student has a 2, how do I support that at home? How do I provide tips for my student maybe the standard for math is counting from 0 to 100. How do they do that as a parent? So within those PDs of the standards, diving deeper into how a parent can support that at home. What are the skills? For example, for ELD, we just did this for DLA in one of the meetings. We reviewed the K-6 standards for ELA and math in both in English and Spanish. Within that PD, it was having the parents talk to each other, saying specifically on the standard, when you read a story, how do you support that student at home? Is it just reading the story, or is it asking them specific questions? Because the standard is the theme, and you'll see that throughout all the standards. So that's what we focused on when we did that professional development at Bret Harte. It was taking that standard, but how to make it accessible for a parent to do that so they can support the work. So focusing on literacy and basic math skills for K-6 is where we want to start.
Yeah, the adult education piece for me is really important. And I know we're not trying to teach in this professional development piece, but I want to see the district supporting the parents in learning the skills that their children are learning so that they can be an example for the kids and also raise their own personal levels of learning and create a learning environment in their home. So anything we can do to support that is really important.
Completely agree.
Thank you. Student Representative Banaka?
Thank you. Although I'm not a teacher, nor am I a staff member, obviously, I can say that I'm really excited to see the changes that we're making with professional development that is being offered to teachers. And I'm especially excited about the equity courses that are being offered. You know, just looking through the names, they not only directly align with many of the suggestions that were given to our district at our last meeting by Dr. Aquanafua, but they also directly align with the input that we just received at our last Interhigh meeting that I talked about earlier. For example, building empathy relates directly to the compassionate dialogue course, and making sure students feel heard directly connects to supporting student empowerment. So I'm really excited to see that, and I just want to echo the remarks of Trustee Maestas, which is just emphasizing the importance of empathy in the classroom. This is something that I have repeatedly heard students reiterate and re-emphasize and highlight to me, which is that teachers who have empathy typically not only have a have a positive impact on their academic success, but also their mental health. And really that's extremely important, especially during these times. So I really hope that moving forward we continue to place an emphasis on building empathy in the classroom. But again, I'm really excited to see all the work that we're doing with professional development, and I'm excited to see this play out in our classrooms.
Thank you. Seeing no other lights, the empathy piece so relates to building those relationships, which we all know is key to everything, is having a relationship with those students. I have just a couple of questions. I also am so pleased with the English learner parent PD, echoing what everyone has said, that it's such an important piece to give our parents the information that they need. So I have a question for you. Do we have also parent PD for non-English learners? Because a lot of our parents across the board need information on the first three, the enrollment, the Power School, the Schoology. Do we offer support to those parents as well?
Dr. West, we actually do through Ketchum, the IETS RES's team. We have quite a few online courses in dual language should they need. And but also, I mean, that is primarily Mady's work as the parent ambassador to focus on those things. So I would say that her office is that initial and primary reach, and we kind of support that with the best that we can too.
Thank you. And then lastly, the equity courses look awesome, and I'm glad that we've had such great participation. I have a silly question. Can board members also access those hour-long courses? I would like to take one. I think some of these topics seem really interesting.
Just send me your email and I'll get you set up.
Okay, thank you. Not for credit or anything. I just am interested in that. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Great report. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Moving on to B5, we have an approval of the first reading of the proposed draft of the board policy, community relations and civility. And this is Mr. Herbst.
All right, good evening, Board President West, trustees, Superintendent Noguchi, cabinet, and guests. As you mentioned before, Board Policy 1313 addresses civility. Our board has a rich tradition and has always valued the input from our community. As stated in the recommended policy, our governing board recognizes also that the First Amendment provides an opportunity for our school community's voice to be heard. We also expect that freedom of expression and speech do comport, though, to the norms of civil behavior. So it really outlines it in the board policy. It talks about polite, courteous, and respectful behavior, not only in our school sites, but in all areas of the district. The language is brand new, and it follows directly with the recommendations from the California School Boards Association. It's recommended that the board approve the first reading of BP 1313.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public on this agenda item? Yes, Mr. Aguilano?
What is the wording? Because I don't have a piece of paper that gives me the wording, but I hope it's not a policy that's going to have a chilling effect on how we come to ask you or bring up issues in the community. Because some of the board members or staff might not like, some people that are kind of outspoken, like Miss Barrera, like Debbie Barrera or Martinez, because I know she's a little bit passionate, I would say. But I think that sometimes she has a point. And if we kind of like say okay, you're gonna be rude and obnoxious, but if you listen to the message, like I have talked to Debbie in different situations when she's upset, when she's cool, and she's all that. But if she feels relaxed and comfortable and be listened to, she knows a lot of stuff. And sometimes I'm mesmerized when I hear her tell me all these things that I learned in college and in current affairs. So I hope it's not a policy that's just gonna try to shut us down so that we don't come and yell at you. And we don't mean to yell at you, it's just sometimes we're so upset. And one time, 4 years ago, I came before this board, and one of the board members asked me, why you people always yell at us and throw your things and then and get us all upset? And I went home and I go like, really, are we being rude and all that? But then I realized that that's like the modus operandi here. We say nice and nobody hears, nothing happens, nobody does anything, and then we finally blow up. So maybe sometimes we have to listen to others and come and consider what they're saying and pay attention so that it doesn't become a big problem. Do we need to file lawsuits for that? I don't think we should. I don't think it does us any good. It only takes us longer to change anything. And why be forced to change? Why can't we think about it and consider things? But I don't know what the policy
Mr. Herbst has
says.
copies of. Thank you. Do we have any other comments from the public on this agenda item? Seeing none, questions or comments from board members? Trustee Brown?
So for me, the one paragraph that stands out for us as board members is that we need to be sure, and district staff as well, that we need to be sure that we're modeling civil behavior and that we're not responding to heated comments. And many times those heated comments are very necessary for us to hear, and I think that our board is doing pretty well at the way that we respond. I've seen progress in the time that I've been on the board, and I for myself listen very carefully to the things that I hear. And for me, sometimes the tone of voice is just as important as the words that I hear. The passion that we hear expressed is just as important as the words. And my job is to make sure that I do my part to be an example of civility. And that comes not only on what I say, but how I react and how I listen. So that's a big part of it.
Thank you. Trustee Maestas?
Thank you. I'm fully supportive of every community member and all of our educational partners coming in and using their freedom of speech and being interacting with us, because that's how we hear that's how we hear what's going on. That's how we hear their thoughts. That's how they participate. And so I'm all for that. I'm definitely looking towards the safety issue, the safety of everyone in ourselves as a board and our community members as they come and speak. So that's kind of where I'm looking at this. But I have one more thing. 1, 2, 3 on the fourth paragraph. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth line down. It says, and feedback through stakeholder engagement. I would like to propose to change stakeholder to educational partner, as recommended by Student Representative Bananca.
Thank you. Vice President Lopez? Oh. and then
Yes.
student representative.
Thank you. I want to echo what the words that our fellow board members, my fellow board members, mentioned. I think it's one of the things that this district or this board has, I think, worked over the last couple of years, making sure that we're listening to everyone, right? Making sure that everyone that has something that they want to share with us is able to hear on, and hear with us in this space. And for us, it's to model that the first step of building trust is listening, right? When we get down to work, things might look different, but at the end of the day, if we start by listening and we focus on making sure that everyone's voice is heard, we can move forward and knowing that we had everything we had in our hands, right? We're making tough decisions, and it's going to be tough decisions, but most importantly, we want to make sure that we listen and to our community, to our educational partners, so that when we make decisions, we're making those with our feedback from our community, right? And so we always want to start with that, and that's the most important, and that's why we start off most often with our public comment, right? Because we want to hear from our community, and by putting that up in the front, we're making a statement that that's the number one job of ours is to listen to our community, so that we can do good work for our students.
Thank you. Student Representative Banaka.
Thank you. Well, first I want to thank Trustee Maestas for recommending that we change the word stakeholder in this document to educational partner. I think it's always important to keep in mind how our words and the way that we word certain policies affect our community. So thank you for that. And I agree with that. Just generally though, with this policy, I think that it's such an important policy, especially in a time like this, because over the past few years, the example that has been set on the national stage for our political discourse has been disrespectful, it has been chaotic, it has been undiplomatic, it's been the exact opposite of civil. And I think for my generation, we're kind of growing up with this. Like, this has become the norm for us. This is normal. I mean, we don't even know what discourse should be, what civility really is. And so I'm really glad that we have this policy to really outline that for our students, because I think it's important to bring us back to, the conversations that I think our founding fathers intended for us to have about policies and contentious debates, which is being able to find common ground and being able to listen to each other. And of course, that doesn't mean that we can't be impassioned. And I think actually passion is essential for processes like this. But I think it just means that we really remain open-minded and that we try our best to find common ground and to listen to each other truly. And so I'm really proud of this policy, and I'm glad that it's something that we're bringing up at our board meetings.
Thank you. Trustee Marks, I just want to give you the opportunity.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, I would just like to echo that I support the change of from stakeholder to educational partners, and that was suggested by Trustee Maestas. And then also, I just want to agree with our student representative on having the civil behavior and civic debate. I know our county had a great focus on this a few years ago, and the whole county was on civility with the former county superintendent, and I always appreciated that discussion. They sent out tips for the community and for board members and council members and board of supervisors on just how we engage with the public and just to be civil, because at the time I think there had been some issues going on in our community, and so but just recognizing that I believe that we have lost a lot of that civil discourse that is supposed to be part of a dialogue, to be able to have agreements and to be able to come to a consensus. And even our national legislative body has lost that, and we've turned into those 2-minute or 2-second or 10-second sound bites. And so I just appreciate the fact that we have a board agenda item that's a new policy that's going to focus on civility, and that we can actually work with this in our district and around in our community as a model of what we desire to see happen. And I so appreciate how well our board has just had our discussions. And if we don't agree, we can still express that. Even if we don't agree with passion, we can still express it, but still work together and move forward with those items. So thank you for bringing this forward for us tonight to be able to vote on and be able to ensure that we do have those discussions with civility.
Thank you. I think one of the most important things we do is to listen to our community members, our parents, our employees, our students. I think we need to hear that voice. And I think we need to understand that we have busy lives, and we have people that come to our meetings who take time out of their schedules to come and sit in a board meeting to speak on a topic that's important to them. And the passion is also important. We need to hear that. And people may agree or not or disagree, but we need to hear each other. And I'm so thankful that we've had very respectful, civil board meetings, all of our community members. We've had so much respect. Regardless of what people are saying, I think we're all respectful. And so I appreciate that very, very much. And I appreciate the time that people take to come here and speak about something that's important to them. So I am looking now for a motion to approve the first reading of proposed draft of Board Policy 1313, Community Relations and Civility, with the corrected educational partner in lieu of stakeholder. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'd like to make the motion, if it's possible.
Well, everybody wants to. I actually heard Student Representative Banaka first, and Vice President Lopez wants to say that Trustee Maestas was next. So seconded by Trustee Maestas. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, this passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Moving on to the next item, which is another approval, and this is the first reading of the proposed draft of Board Policy 3515.2, Disruptions and Review of Draft of Administrative Regulation AR 3515.2, Disruptions. Mr. Herbst.
Yeah, good evening again. As you mentioned, BP 3515.2 really addresses disruptions. This language is new and also follows the recommendation of the California School Boards Association. It's somewhat related, but not necessarily when you look through the BP. There may be instances where significant disruptions occur at our schools and in other areas of the district. Luckily, we keep those to a minimum, but the fact of the matter is they do exist. So this policy really kind of outlines the way what we follow in Modesto City Schools, but when disruptions occur, which includes potentially removal from district sites or facilities, it also speaks to what Associate Superintendent Zierle brought in, which is a visitor check-in process to ensure that we have the right people, we know who's on our school campuses, as well as lockdown procedures, which are ongoing. We do those regularly throughout the school year. This board policy memorializes that, and it is new policy. We do not have this. It also mentions that in certain situations, and we do partner with MPD and Sheriff's Office in situations to where the disruption may be extreme, and so that's also outlined in the policy. It's recommended that the board approve the first reading of BP 3512.2, and I will definitely answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public on this agenda item? Yes.
Probably this is the one I was worried about. The other one was perfect. Well, when I was reading it on the board just a few minutes ago, I'm just worried that giving the power to certain people to expel people from the school grounds or from offices and all that has to be carefully used. You can't just like because somebody's upset and then something happened with the district with our children and then you don't like it and then you just kick us out. We're not trying, nobody's going to get assaulted. We're not going to bite. But I got kicked out of a school before and it's humiliating. It's taxpayers' money. It's really upsetting to be kicked out of a school. And the administration doesn't want to listen, or the school people, or whoever, or a senior director shadowing one of our constituents. So I think you have to be careful and read carefully what you're authorizing people to do. The last board meeting, you had police in front of the door. That's intimidating. You shouldn't have the police in front of the door. You know, how are you going to welcome people here if you have the police at the door? Come on. Have them hide somewhere else, but not at the door. Okay, but just think about it and read between the lines. Because I'm worried about that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the public on this item? Questions or comments from board members? Trustee Brown?
As I read through this policy about disruptions, I am conscious of so many things that have happened on school campuses throughout the country where children have been harmed. And I'm pleased to see that we are taking actions so that we can create a measure of safety for our students, for our staff, and for the public at our campuses. And I want to commend the district for all the efforts and thank the public for support of measures D&E, which have allowed us to put some of these safety measures in place with single entry points and different things that we're able to do to better screen people who are coming onto campus, so we can determine that they do have an interest that is not a threat to the children or the staff. And so I am conscious that we do have to be careful and equitable with that, and that is not to be meant as a screening for anything other than safety measures.
Thank you. Trustee Maestas?
Yeah, I just want to echo and agree everything that Trustee Brown said. You will never, I don't know how many people would ever understand the feeling of getting a call from the school that your little ones go to, that a person was on campus that they had no idea who this person was and walked on, and they had to make sure all the kids were in their classrooms. And I mean, they were safe, thank God. But it scares you. It's very scary. And so having something established so that we keep our kids safe is really, really important. I don't know how, I don't want to get into that too much, but thank you.
Thank you. See no other lights or trustee Marks. I'm looking for now a motion to approve the first reading of BP 3515.2 and AR 3515.2. Moved by Trustee Brown, and seconded by Trustee Maestas. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? See none. This passes unanimously. We're moving on now to the BP and BP approval, first reading of the BP 4119.21, Professional Standards, Code of Ethics, and Review of Draft Exhibit, Code of Ethics of the Education Profession. Mr. Henderson.
Yes, good evening. Thank you. Good evening, Board President West and trustees. As part of the continuing effort to update board policies consistent with CSBA and Gamut, we bring for the board's consideration and approval the first reading of Board Policy 4119.21, Professional Standards and Code of Ethics, which guides the district's expectations for professional and ethical conduct of staff. Stephen Beauchesne, Supervisor of Compliance, will be presenting the item.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. Good evening, Board President West, trustees of the board, Dr. Noguchi, and members of Cabinet. I'm Stephen Beauchesne, Supervisor of Compliance in the Human Resources Office. It's my pleasure to be before you again this evening to present for our first reading Board Policy 4119.21 at SEC regarding Professional Standards Code of Ethics. This board policy very simply has been updated to align the language with the updates to the California School Board Association's model policy. It is requested that it be approved, and if there are any questions at this time, I'd be more than happy to address them.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public on this agenda item? See none, we'll move to questions or comments from board members. See no lights. I'm looking for a motion to approve the first reading of the proposed revision of board policy 4119.21 on the Code of Ethics of Education Profession. Moved by Trustee Maestas and seconded by Trustee Marks. All in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, and we're moving on now to B8. Excuse me?
Can I make a point of information?
Yes, point of information.
I don't know if we can do this since we voted on the run of show for the agenda. Oh, sorry, my bad. I wanted to make see if we can move item B10 up because I know we have sorry, not either B10 or B9. Sorry, B9 up because I know that we have some public in the audience that want to talk on this issue, and I feel like we can stay a little bit longer talking about something internal for the board, like B8. So can we move that? Can we swap them?
What is the protocol since we've already voted on the order of discussion items?
I think that you could make a motion to have B9 in front of B8, or B8 is going to be pretty quick too, but it is the next one. It's up to you.
Okay, I also appreciate your patience. I know you've been waiting for quite a long time. So if everyone's okay, we will go to B9 and then we will do.
I'll make a motion to move B9 to now and then the
Yes.
order.
Moved by Trustee Mejia and seconded by Trustee Brown.
In favor.
All in favor.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There you go.
Any opposed? All right, we are going to move the item. So we're going to talk about item B9. And this is the approval of the memo of understanding between Modesto City Schools and California School Employees Association and its chapter 007 for entry-level position range adjustment. Mr. Henderson.
Yes, good evening, Board President West and trustees again. Item B9, as you mentioned, presents for the board's consideration and approval a significant and meaningful investment in employees in classified service in the district through a compensation adjustment directed to the district's entry-level classified positions and their related job family positions. As noted in the agenda item, the year-over-year increases in the minimum wage, which will increase to $15 per hour in January 2022, which the district has made effective in July of 2021 to get ahead of it, have created compression in the lowest tier of classified positions on the classified salary schedule, and they warranted an evaluation of the salary placement for those basic entry-level positions in classified service. In addition, the district has and continues to experience increased competition in the workforce, resulting in acute staffing needs. While the district values the service of all employee groups and makes effort to avoid staffing shortages of any kind, such shortages in entry-level positions and others included in this effort in the classified service can result in direct adverse impact on the district operations. The HR and Business Services departments evaluated the positions respective to their proximity to minimum wage, resulting in the recommendation to establish range 23 on the classified salary schedule and range 22 on the early childhood education salary schedule, their equivalent, as the new floor or the base level range for our positions. The proposed adjustment would move all positions in ranges 16 to 22 to range 23. We also reviewed related job families and made corresponding range adjustments to positions within the job family relationships that were impacted by the movement of the lower tier range positions. We engaged with CSCA leadership on the specifics of this entry-level position range adjustment, and the attached MOU, as you mentioned, is the product of our collaboration. With board approval, the MOU will go to a ratification vote with CSCA membership at an upcoming meeting. For some perspective, this item will positively impact approximately 1,229 classified employees, which is about 70% of the classified unit. And as noted in the agenda item, that significant investment results in the ongoing fiscal impact for the item to be about $3.9 million. It's recommended that the board approve the MOU for entry-level position range adjustments to be effective as noted in the CSCA ratification, or as noted in the MOU and following CSCA ratification. To provide some context, this really is, as mentioned, just to address the lowest tier of our range positions, as we've seen that minimum wage federal increase year over year and really creep up into our early positions. There's a separate process called the CSCA Reclassification Committee, which is established by one of the articles actually that CSCA is going to be reopening as part of negotiations. But that committee has been established, and we have 4 meetings a year. We periodically review requests that members submit to CSCA and they bring forward. They have a certain number each year, and the district has brought forward many requests as well. And there are often more requests than the allowable number to bring forward, but we've done a lot of great work through that committee. And there was Dr. Noguchi had asked me at one point to kind of give some context to it, and since 2018 to 2020, to provide some perspective, there were 38 different reclassifications through that committee, affecting 547 classified service members to the tune of about $1.2 million just through that committee's work alone. And many of the ranges, most of the ranges, I would say, that are addressed through that committee are some of these above the tier that we're talking about. So I only mention that to be clear that there is a different mechanism and forum in place for any other positions that CSEA or the district feel are going to need to have follow-up as a result of addressing these lowest level tier positions, if that makes sense. And the recommendation is to approve the MOU and for these adjustments to be effective. I think this will be a huge impact for a lot of members, and I'm certainly open for any questions.
Thank you. We're going out to the public first, so Felipe Esparza Davalos, thank you for your patience. Please.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us speak here, and I thank the gentleman for opting to make the motion to move the item up. I appreciate that. This is my first...
Your mic might not be on, or maybe you can lean closer.
How about here?
That's good.
Thank you so much. This is my first board meeting, and I can commend you guys all. This is kind of a marathon late in the day. So definitely thank you guys for being here and for having us. You know, what I was mentioning earlier, and I did think I was out of order, so sorry about that, was that this MOU came out late Friday afternoon to us as the bargaining unit, and it did bring out more questions than it did answers. And I appreciate Mr. Rich's explanation of this, and we are aware of the reclassification process. My own job, the job title that I'm under, has attempted to do that process as well. I think the concern that has been brought up amongst the conversations with us is that we understand that the reclassification or the restructuring did aim to deal with the minimum wage gap, right? It is a little bit confusing with the percentages. We understand that there's families that had to go into the kind of that are lumped in there. Some of these range anywhere from 5% raises to 21% raises. And although we're happy for these bargaining members and we do think that they rightfully deserve these raises, I feel that some of our classifications do feel a little bit left behind. And you know, I'm a little bit appreciative that I got to go after some of these presenters, because hearing people like Mike Rich and Maricela Mota and Mr. Nego, you know, I do believe in the message that Dr. Noguchi brought to our district about making this a destination district. But what we're asking is that you guys believe back in us in the form of respecting and appreciating our job levels. You know, some of us had to do large pivots and readjustments when you did the restructuring of administrators, and they flattened and their duties expanded. And as so, the support staff that they have, duties have expanded with them. However, they received an adjustment in pay and we did not. And this is something that we have brought up to our president and continue to bring up to our president, but I feel a little unheard at this time. And I think that I do work hard for my administrators, and I've worked under APs or then APs like Sarah Gill and Michael Schroyer. I'm now under, you know, Principal Moore, and my direct AP is AP Sherwood. And I welcome any of you to talk to them about my work ethic and what I bring to the table. And it's just, sorry about that. It's just, I implore that you guys revisit maybe doing this for other levels as well. So, thank you for your time.
Do we have other comments from the public? Yes.
My name is Lewis Miller. I work as a campus supervisor for Overwright. There's no such thing as a campus supervisor for most elementary schools. We know what happened at Overwright. That's why I'm there. And my time with Overwright, I have not seen people who care so much for kids as our campus supervisor, which is myself. Yard duties, we have 4 of them. We have 3 actually, and a campus assistant. The lower tier, I'm on that tier. It's not right for us to be working with people making $200 a day, for people who's making $85 a day. They're dealing with perhaps 20 kids at a time. We're dealing with all the kids, all the time. And I agree with the gentleman, the lower tier, we feel a little bit not heard, not cared about. We're making $15. I'm working with a gentleman next to me who is the campus assistant, been there for 6-7 years. I make $1 more than he does because I'm a campus supervisor. It's not right. This man is a gentleman. He's a man among men. He and I are friends. We have the same passion for these kids, and that's what we want to overwrite. That's what we want for this Modesto City Schools. We have people not wanting to come to overwrite because where we are, who we are, the kids we serve, the parents we serve. Nobody wants to come to overwrite because of the way override is looked at. This is the board. I've never been on a board, never had a chance to speak on a board, but I value you guys because you guys are the ones who are going to make the difference. Somebody has to be able to go to somebody and say, look, you know this is not right. It hasn't been right for over 150 years, but we still do it. It's still, we are getting very little pay compared to what everybody else get in the school. I think if we take time to look at who deals the most with most of the kids all the time and how we treat the kids, I think we will have a more appreciative outlook. However, what we're seeing now with, I saw the pay rate, how it's supposed to go. If we get that, if we approve this, that's a great thing. We're going to affect so many people in so many ways. It's not going to equalize everything, but it's going to make things a whole lot better for the ones who have been helped the least. When this pandemic was going, I was working with guys in custodial because the school was no kids. There's no kids. I still need to work. So I went to custodial, picked up work, and I'm working next to a guy who's been there for 5 years, and he's still a substitute. And he's trying to get hired, been trying to get hired since he's been there full time. Look at your people who's doing the work. This is what I'm asking you to do.
Thank you. Do we have any other members of the public? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Ruth Valdez, and I have worked with you. You were one of my subs. I remember him, and I also worked directly with Felipe. And I agree that, yes, we all are in need of a little sum for what we do and what we bring to the table. I can vouch for, both of these gentlemen here, more so for Felipe. I've known him for about 6 years now. A lot of everything that I've known for the position that I have now, I've learned from him. I have never met a man that overworks to give service to our students, to be there literally more than 10 hours just to support the team that he has. He has supported the principals, the assistant principals, the students, the staff, myself included. And for this to go through, it's great for those that are, getting in and getting their job for Modesto City Schools. But then again, I do agree with him. I do feel a little left out. The positions that we are in, we've taken a lot more on our plate that we can handle. When the parents come into our offices and there is issues that need to be addressed, with the gentleman here, when he was, you were saying that you don't like the whole rudeness or anything like that. I don't either, and I'm a parent as well. My student attends the school that I work for, and I love the position that I have, and I always make sure that my parents leave happy. If there's something that can be addressed right there and I can help them, great. I'm more than happy to assist you in any issues that you may have. But then again, we are overloaded with work. And we don't feel that support, and we do feel left out. So with that said, I just ask that you kind of revise it and not forget any of us, because it is difficult to come home and know that this is going to potentially happen, which is great for them, but then at the same time, it's just not. We kind of have to work something out. It just needs to move forward some way or another. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have other members of the public? I think you've all spoken. So we're going now to questions or comments from board members. See no lights. Okay. Trustee Brown and then Trustee Marks. Trustee Marks and then Trustee Brown.
Okay, thank you. I'm appreciative that we are moving into this place to be able to levelize or at least raise up these salaries so that we can be so that we don't have as many vacancies as was discussed earlier. And I'm just appreciative that we can do this tonight and at least move forward. And I hope that we can also address some of the issues that were brought up by the public tonight.
Thank you. Trustee Brown?
So I'm very appreciative of the fact that we are discussing this tonight. And I think that it reflects not only the conditions that we see as a district, but where we are as a community, as a state, and as a nation, where through the pandemic and through many of the changes that we've addressed recently, the labor market has changed drastically. And there are lots of lower level positions that are competing with our quality workforce and paying more. Some of our employees could walk into a fast food restaurant and be paid almost $20 an hour now. And we have to ask ourselves, are we being fair to our employees when McDonald's will pay them anywhere from $17 to $20 an hour, and we can't do that here? So I think that we are at a point where we have been presented a good starting point, but I'm not willing to say that we're finished, and that I feel that it's important that we continue to look at this measure and make sure that we do offer a fair wage for the hard work that's being performed. All the work that is being done by our classified staff is every bit as important as the work that happens in the classroom, because it supports learning. And without the quality employees on the front lines, our students can't gain the education that they deserve. So we're a family, and the family at Modesto City Schools relies on every single employee doing the best job that they possibly can. And I want to see us support everyone the best that we possibly can with a fair wage.
Thank you. Trustee Maestas and then Trustee Mejia?
Thank you. Yeah, I also, just like Trustee Brown and Trustee Marks, am really glad that we can have a starting point, but we can't end here. There's so many classified staff that take care of our kids, and that's important. And I don't really have much more to say to that. I just think of my 3 kiddos in school, and the yard duties and the campus supervisors and everything, that every one of them that's been there when my kid has fallen down because he's playing and he scrapes his knee. Like, that's just okay. I'm gonna stop before I start.
Thank you. Trustee Mejia and then Vice President Lopez?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for building up the courage. It's your first time speaking at the board. I know I appreciate your comments, and yeah, I ditto. I think that's what we talking about all day today, about listening, and is strike a chord. And so I really want to say we're going to take this, what you share with us, and definitely bring it back. And I'm glad we're helping many, but we're also going to really look at this in our next time around. So I really appreciate the comments, and I did like the comments of our previous 2 board members' comments.
Thank you. Vice President Lopez?
Yes, I want to echo what my fellow board members have mentioned. I want to thank you all for coming out and talking and sharing your story with us. It's very important. Like we mentioned before, it's a destination district, and that includes everyone, right? We're a destination district family, and I know that this is just the beginning of the work, and I know that it's going to be a lot more of it, but I'm glad that we have this, and that we're going to be moving forward with the bargaining unions, so that everyone can be happy of working here and have a pleasant time and contribute to the success of our students, because everyone that's on here and any position is here for the success of our students, and they need that support for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're all kind of on the same page. We appreciate you being here, and we hear what you say. I know when I worked as a school counselor at a middle school, My campus supervisors, my yard duties, those were the people that I worked closely with because we were a team, because they had their hand on what was going out on the yards and the students, and they were able to refer those students to me, and I depended on them because a lot of kids don't trust other adults on campus, but they do trust their campus supervisors and their yard duties. And all of our classified people have such a heart for the students. I hear the passion that you all have. I know how much you care for your students, and I want to thank you for that. Our students are fortunate to have you. So I think we're all in agreement, and we appreciate you being here, and thank you so much for this. So we're looking for now a motion to approve the MOU between Modesto City Schools and the California School Employees Association, Chapter 007 for entry-level position range adjustment. And so this is being moved by Trustee Mejia, seconded by Vice President Lopez. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're moving back to B8. And so this is Dr. Noguchi. I'll let you introduce this.
Thank you. Thank you, President West. Each year, member boards elect representatives to the California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly. The Delegate Assembly works with member boards like ourselves, the Board of Directors, and an executive committee. Delegates ensure that CSBA promotes the interests of all school districts and County Office of Education. Delegates with the term that ends in 2022 are up for election, and we happen to have one in our region, which is Region 8. The delegates elected in 2022 will serve a 2-year term beginning April 1 of 2022. The 2 required delegates each will meet twice during the year, May and November, which is what Trustee Marks just spoke about, is November. So at this time, I'm looking for any nominations. You're welcome to nominate yourself or others. This isn't the end for this. You nominate yourself or others. It'll then go on to a ballot, and it will come back to us for all of Region 8, us and everyone in Region 8, in a month or so, and then there'll be an election. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to President West for any motions or any nominations.
Thank you. I'll ask for any comments from the public first on this item. Seeing none, I'm looking for questions or comments from the board, and also looking for any nominations. If someone wants to nominate themselves or someone else. Looking for any discussion on this. Any nominations? Any volunteers?
I just have a question.
Yes.
Does Trustee Brown know if Trustee Fay Lane is planning to run again for this position?
I have not heard. I had heard at one point that she may be
Just
considering
curious
not
if
running.
She was planning to do it again or not, and if not, it's an open seat. Then it would be a good year for someone to run for that.
Cindy, I just have a question. You work with CSBA a lot. No interest in being assembly? She is? Sorry.
In what?
And holding that position? But I'm being informed you already are in another capacity.
So, yeah, because I'm past president, I am a lifetime, or as long as I'm on a school board, I am a delegate, and I'm not taking any positions away from anyone in the county. But Fay, so this year it's 1 seat, it's Fay Lane, and next year it's 2 seats. And there's Cindy Lindsay and Paul from Newman Crow's Landing, I can't remember his last name, I want to say Wallace, are in those positions. But this year there's only 1 seat that's open, and I didn't know if Fay had decided not to run. But I was elected in 1999 to be a delegate and by the county board members in that seat. And so I know it takes some effort to get into it. So if anybody wants to, it helps to get to know the ones that are on the meeting that Chad Brown goes to. And it just helps for them to know who you are so that they can also help promote you on their boards to vote for them, because you're elected by the board members in the county. I don't know if I answered your question though, Adolfo.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Okay.
I hear no one nominating themselves or other people, so I think we're going to move on to item B10. So we will move on to item B10 at this point. This is approval of the district office management compensation study adjustments. Mr. Henderson.
Good evening, Board President West and trustees. So item B10 addresses another piece of the district's ongoing effort to review compensation, this time within management service. The board will recall that the district contracted with School Services of California last year to conduct a compensation study related to our site administrator positions, and that MCS was very far behind comparable districts in terms of total compensation. A similar compensation study was conducted in June 2021 by School Services to review total compensation of extended cabinet level district office management positions. Similar to that previous study, the compensation study reveals significant disparities for a number of positions between, in comparison to 7 other comparable districts. As reflected in the document attached to the agenda item, there were 8 management positions in the study that were identified as being below the median compensation level when compared to other districts in the study, and the corresponding range increase to get them to the median is shown. There were 13 positions in the study that were already at or above the median level for the comparative districts, and therefore these positions will remain at their current range. The board has established priority goals, among them Goal 5.0 to recruit, hire, and retain high-quality staff. And as with the previous item tonight, the district continues its commitment to invest in its people by adjusting compensation to be competitive with like districts. One note on the list of those to be granted a range change, there were also 2 that part of that range change is a reclassification of their job titles to a senior director title. That was a natural function of the comparison. The total cost for the adjustments is as shown in the board item, and it's recommended that the board approve the district office management compensation study adjustments.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public on this agenda item? Yes.
What are those 118, 141? What do those numbers mean?
Those correspond to range levels, salary range levels on the management salary schedule, which is posted on the district website. Like the last item, you might have ranges 16, 17, 18, all the way up to 55 on the classified salary schedule. This is the management salary schedule version of that.
Is 118 $118,000
No.
or $118 or 118 what?
It's a range level. It doesn't correspond to a specific dollar amount, but you would need to access the document to see what that refers to.
Do you know?
I can pull it up.
I mean, I just wanted a short explanation without me going to go look at the website right now. You know, this is what I'm talking about when you want to ask something and you don't get a straight answer. You know, is 118 on a range level of 100%, and then you paying above the 100%, or I don't know. It's just wondering what people get paid.
So, I was just going to say this is
I just
a
wondered.
comment from the public, and so the questions. Can you get him maybe that information
Certainly.
while
Thanks
we
for-
continue, so he can get you that information?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have other comments at this time from the public? Comments or questions from the board? I'm seeing no lights. I'm looking for a motion to approve the district office management compensation study adjustments. Looking for a motion to approve. Trustee Mejia, and seconded by Trustee Maestas. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? See none, this passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. All right. We're moving on now to the public hearing on Modesto City Schools core values for negotiations and Modesto City Schools and California School Employees Association, Chapter 007. So we are going to close the regular open board meeting at this time. And we are now going to open the public hearing and hand it over to Mr. Henderson.
Thank you again. Good evening, Board President West and trustees. Item B11 is an item for the public hearing for the board to review and approve the district's core values for negotiations and its initial proposal for the beginning of the negotiation process, and vote to receive CSEA's initial proposal. And prior to engaging in any negotiation on a proposal submitted by public school employees, as is noted in the item, the public must first have an opportunity to become informed and express itself regarding the proposal at a public meeting, thus the public hearing, which you just opened. After which, we would be recommending that the board approve the district's proposal in the core values and vote to receive CSEA's initial proposal.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public on this agenda item? Seeing none, we're looking for any questions or comments now from board members. And seeing none. We are now going to close the public hearing and reconvene the regular board meeting. And we are looking for a motion to approve the Modesto City Schools core values for negotiations and Modesto City Schools and California School Employees Association, Chapter 007, initial proposals for the CSEA MCS collective bargaining agreement for the 2021-2022 school years, and to receive CSEA's initial proposal. Looking for a motion to approve all that I just said. Trustee Maestas, and seconded by Trustee Marks. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? See none. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
We are looking now for items to be placed on future Board of Education agendas. See none. We're looking for a motion to adjourn this meeting. Trustee Mejia, seconded by Trustee Maestas. And all in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously. This meeting is adjourned.